This is Doug coming to you from the San Francisco Bay on Fleet Week, and over here we've got my HELIX, the brand new HELIX Road case from SKB that's supposed to be waterproof, and we're about to take a swim in the San Francisco Bay. Okay, so we've got our DiMarzio cable, our power cable, and of course the HELIX and the HELIX harness, just so this thing doesn't disappear. We're gonna lock this bad boy up. 1 latch, 2 latch, 3 latch, 4, 5, and 6, and we're on our way down to the San Francisco Bay. Let's do this. Okay. By the way, there are the Blue Angels right there. Pretty cool. And here is the HELIX Roadshow. In the water we go, and boom, splash. Come on, baby. There we go. We got a hold of the HELIX harness. Come on. All right, now what we're going to do is going to do a little bit of submersion test here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't think you'll normally be doing this out on the road, and by the way, I wouldn't suggest doing this at home, but, well, let's see if it's actually waterproof. Coming back up to shore, making sure that we don't come out of frame here, and hopefully we're not going to trip on any of these rocks. And all right, here we go. So, the moment of truth has arrived. I'm going to give this bad boy a little bit of a towel down. And here we go. Latch number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And boom, dry as we would like to see. So now we're going to plug it in and make sure that it works. So my HELIX obviously survived its little swim in the bay, thanks to this SKB iSeries case. In this video, we're going to be talking about these two cases, this one, which is for HELIX Floor and LT, and this one, which is for HELIX Rack, as well as the Kemper Profiler and the respective controllers. Before we talk about the individual feature sets, I want to talk about the things these cases have in common. And before I do that, just want to say, if you're as much of a gear fanatic as I am and are into checking out all sorts of cases and modeling gear and all sorts of stuff, and haven't already subscribed to this channel, I invite you to do so, and also ring the bell so I can let you know when new demos and stuff like this goes online. All right, if you've ever traveled with a HELIX through an airport, you've probably discovered they get pretty heavy pretty quickly. One of my favorite features about both of these cases is this pop-up, lock into place, rolling function that you've got on both cases. It is awesome. Also, you pull up to the gig, right? There's no parking in front. 3 blocks away, you're like, oh man, you're gonna be so thankful. Gig bag over one shoulder, HELIX in tow, you're done, right? It's gonna be awesome. All right, a little over a decade ago, I put out a record. Had the privilege of touring all over Europe, opening for Gilby Clarke. Virtually all the shows were fly dates, which means that there was a lot of time going from one city or one country to another, and the guitars that I got from Ibanez came in these nice, tiny new cases. Fortunately, the tour manager for Gilby Clarke pulled me aside at the beginning of the tour and said, dude, love your cases, love the guitars, but those are going to get destroyed if you don't start putting tape over the latches. And thanks to that advice, those guitars and cases are still great. One of my favorite features about these, and if you've spent time on the road, you're going to totally know what I'm talking about, is that they've got these recessed areas for the, if you will, pop-up handle and latches that sit in these kind of recessed channels, which means if something comes sliding by there, regardless of the velocity, it's not going to break the latches or the handles off. That is just huge. And it's the sort of thing that, 10 years from now, these cases are still going to be in the same kind of condition. All right, with that said, let's take a moment and talk about each of the feature sets, that the things that are really unique to these cases I think you're going to want to know about, starting off with this guy. One of my favorite things about this case is it's really made for a musician that's on the go. I can look in here and immediately tell I've got my power cable, I've got my instrument cable, I've got my dual XLRs, and I've got my L6 link cable. So I'm not going to show up at the gig without something that I've got to have. And in turn, I'm not going to leave the gig without something I'm going to wish that I didn't leave behind, right? Okay. Now, one other thing you're going to want to know, these little inserts are how you kind of convert the case from a HELIX LT by having them in to a HELIX floor by taking them out. All right. Now, in terms of bringing the pedal into here, I suggest kind of pushing it into a corner like that and gently pushing down, not on the expression pedal, but on these two corners here. Now, another really cool thing about this case is these pockets right here and here, so you can pull this thing out of the case without pulling on the expression pedal. So that gets us to the big boy. I love HELIX rack, and most of the time it stays here out of sight in this downstairs studio. But there are times I want to be able to take it out of here, and this case, especially with the roller functionality, is perfect for that. There are also some other really cool things that I think you're going to want to know about. First of all, it comes with a 4U rack, which is obviously big enough to mount your HELIX rack and or Kemper Profiler, as well as one other piece of rack gear. It's also got rack mounts not only in the front, but in the back. So say, for example, again, you want something like a vintage delay in the front, but you want to have some power conditioning, you can mount that on the back side. All right, you just grab a hold of this guy and the handle on the top here, and ease that down, and it sits nice and snugly there. In turn, you put in this foam insert that these holes are for the Kemper Profiler controller, and these guys here are for HELIX control. Sits in there nice and snug like that. You close it down like that, and you're good to go. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Down below in the show notes, there's some links in case you want to pick these cases up, find out more about them. Again, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And thanks so much for watching. Cheers.